Volkswagen ID.4 has been an absolute bestseller of late. The Nissan Leaf blazed a trail about 10 years ago, and it's probably the Tesla that's going to get all the headlines. But there's another car that's quietly been going about its business for a few years now, and owners, people who drive the car daily, will grab you by the shoulder, shake you and tell you just how good it is. But the Kia e-Niro has gone through a big update, and we have it here today. This is the fully electric Niro. Let's start with design and how the Niro EV looks, and I think it is so much better than the last one. A lot more angular, a lot sharper, and a lot more modern really compared to the old one with the new Kia badging there. I like this bit of chrome effect that runs across the front and down the bottom as well. Bit of air intake under there, charging flap at the front, but we'll talk about that later on. But I do like the positioning of it, although I'm biased coming from a Nissan Leaf the last few years. Nice big chunky lamps on it as well with the DRLs just there. LED to save you a bit of energy. But yeah, overall, I think Kia have knocked it out of the park on this one. Let us know what you think down in the comments. Do you like it? Nice little update on the design from the side angle as well, although it's not a stark difference as the front. Now, 17 inches we're on just here. That's what you get with the EVs. Would I like 18s or 19s just to fill out those wheel arches a little bit more? Yeah, maybe I would, but that's what we get with the electric, and we get better efficiency for it. Once again, like the colouring, bit of two-tone materials just down the bottom here where the scuff plates are. We've got keyless entry on this one, which is fantastic, and our Aero C pillar. And on some designs now you can get that in different colours as well. And I like that chevron effect and how it's echoed in the rear lights. And there actually is a gap through there, channels air around the side of the car for better aerodynamics. A nice update around the back as well. I've got this little spoiler just here. You can see where the air is funneled around the side behind the Aero C pillar. Wiper at the back, that's welcome. Now I like this bit of black kind of gloss plastic trim just there. And we have a automated tail kit, which is fantastic. That opens up to about 475 litres of space all in, but the floor is modular, so it's pretty much flat there, which is great, so you can slide stuff in and out. But if you do need that bit more space, it's not a parcel shelf, but take the little shelf just there, slide it down, and that expands out to give you a little bit more space. 60-40 split on the seats at the back, fold them down, and you're out to give or take around 1400 litres. So a nice bit of space there, and this feature is great. Now this is a good chance as we come up to a little chicane here on the road, and as we're coming around the tight corner I can actually feel the lane keep assist kicking in a little bit. Okay, take a left corner, straightens out over a little humpback bridge, throw it in left, and yeah, that's a little bit more poised than you'd expect. There's a bit of body roll there, alright, don't get me wrong, but the suspension is nicely weighted, because as you come out of a corner like that, okay, it did move a little bit, but once you hit the bumps and the little ramps and those potholes, then you kind of welcome that slightly softer suspension. When I first got into the Niro, I thought, this is a little bit busy. Now, granted, that was probably because only a few hours earlier I'd stepped out of been driving the Tesla Model Y for a week, which is really, really minimalist in style. There's pretty much no buttons on the inside of that. And this was just a little bit busy, I thought. But now that I'm in it for a few days, I've been driving it around, I've spent about 7 or 8 hours driving it, I'm getting a lot more comfortable with it. And you know what? It's making so much more sense now, and I'm really enjoying it. Got lots of buttons on the steering wheel, so your adaptive cruise control, but then radio, voice activation, all those kind of things. And the cruise control I found really, really good so far. You can do plenty with it. It's not jittery on the motorway. It'll track the car in front. You can flick it up in 1s or in 10s. If you want to adapt the speed. So I was quite impressed with that. Over on the side here, there's just your usuals, mirrors, doors, handles, electric windows, things like that. But what's going on here is the two screens that we've got. Now, it kind of looks almost like one curved display that just wraps around the dash, but it's actually two separate screens of about 11 or 12 inches each. Driver's information just behind here, and it's quite, the graphics seem almost computer game in style, and you can toggle through those depending on what you want to display. On this screen over here, this is the infotainment screen where most of the stuff happens. There's again, plenty going on. So you've got options for EV, map, climate control, valet mode, quiet mode, all these different options here, all the various settings, media. Plenty of power in it then when you want it as well. So this has a 150 kilowatt motor. Now I know back in the days we talked about horsepower or 2-litre engines and stuff. It's an electric motor, fully electric, so it's 150 kilowatts. So that's good for just over 200 horsepower and 255 newton meters of torque. So it's no slouch at all. This car will kick on nicely. You're talking about the 0 to 100 kilometer per hour sprint, if you do ever want to do it in an SUV like this, of 7.8 seconds. So yeah, it doesn't hang around. And then in terms of delivering that power, well, it's an electric drivetrain, so it's always going to just be there for you. But you do have a number of driving modes. Now, there's this button on the steering wheel here, so you can start off in eco mode, and the throttle, it's quite dull. As I press it down a bit, I'm not getting much. Press it again, I go up into normal mode. Yeah, starting to get a little, yeah, all the power is there. But you also have sport mode. So let's put it into sport mode now, and what? It just takes all throttle mapping out of it. You get everything. So foot off, on, whoa, off, and then it just slows you down through regen braking again. Yeah, it makes it feel a lot more interactive and peppy than it really is. But yeah, I suppose it's a bit of fun in a mid-sized SUV, isn't it? Wireless charging pad just down there. You've got USB port, USB-C port as well, 12 volt, 180 watts, it's great to have. And then down here in the center console, you've kind of got the usuals really, although it is nice. You've got your parking cameras, warnings that you can turn on and off, heated seats in 3 different stages, which is great to have. Air cooling as well for your seats, heated steering wheel, so it's fantastic. And this is where you toggle using this rotary knob just here between reverse, neutral drive, park, and your on and off button. And another little feature I like is this bar down here. Now this is touch screen, and you can toggle between which you want. So at the moment that's set to the air conditioning, so we can have that in automatic, choose where you want the air to blow, demisters, so on. We won't go into all the details, but if you just click it again, it gives you a more general menu then. So map, nav, you can seek tracks for the radio, media, setup. You just press whatever you want and it'll pop up here on the big screen as well. And because I've got Android Auto plugged in, it just pops up with all the podcasts that I listen to right there. But it's nice, it's very comfortable. The materials they're not luxurious, but we're never going to expect it at this kind of price point. But it's done really, really well, I have to say. Everything you touch and interact with is absolutely fine. Yeah. I was mentioning Regen just there, and for me it's one of the finer features of the Niro, because we've got the flappy paddles just behind the steering wheel, which makes it really easy to toggle in between which setting we want. So if I bring that back to 0 just by pulling on the flappy paddles, take my foot off, and I'm barely losing any speed at all, just rolling resistance. But then you can go click it once, we've got level 1, again, level 2, again, and you can even do it as you go around corners, which is great. We're up to level 3, and then if I press it once more, I got really, really strong regen. But beyond that, it's actually one pedal driving. So what I'm going to do here is just indicate off this road. So I'm carrying 40 kilometers as I come off, still doing 40, take my foot off now, 30, 20, 10, 5, stop. And I haven't pressed the brake pedal, it just does it on its own. So then you're in traffic, just tap on the accelerator, moves off, someone stops ahead of you, take your foot off, and brings us back down to stop again. Normally when we talk about range and battery capacities, I go out for a spin, maybe do a 100-kilometer journey, or rinse the battery down to 0% and talk about efficiency and what sort of range you get. But today's a little bit different because the Kia has a party piece. Check this out. So here we are with it set up. Let's get the kettle on boil and talk about that battery size. So in this car, it's 64.8 kilowatt hours, and you can just hear the kettle coming on there now. So in terms of real world range, that's going to give us in and around that 400 mark, you know, maybe a little bit below. But having said that, me pottering around the last few days, I'm tracking towards 500. Put the car in the depths of winter, barreling down the motorway, that might drop down towards the low 300s. There was the steam coming off the kettle. There we go. Time to pour ourselves a cup of tea. Absolutely fantastic feature. I'm not going to drink this now, it's way too hot, I'll burn myself. Then I won't be able to film the rest of the video. Yeah, not a good idea. I'll just leave that down and wait for a bit. And one last little tip for you, if you are going to use the vehicle to load functionality, make sure that you've got your departure limit set to the right amount. So I couldn't use it this morning, I couldn't figure out why, but this is it apparently. Press that EV button there, it'll display your battery percentage and stuff like that. Now we're currently on 70%, so if I click the V2L button just there, I need to have that down below 70%. So let's just put it to 20 there, and now the car will allow me to use that V2L functionality so that I have enough range to get where I want to go when I go to leave afterwards. It was tricky, caught me out today, but great to have it in a real world situation so you don't get stuck in the middle of nowhere. So what do we make of the Niro EV overall? Well, I'm going to drop it back in a few hours now, which means that we've had it for a week. We've put up well over 500 kilometers on it, and I have to say I absolutely love it. I think it's fantastic. For me, it's just the right size. There's a lot of big SUVs out there at the moment, and this one's just that little bit easier to get around, to park, to get around city streets. The turning circle is quite small for a vehicle this size as well. But it goes beyond that. It's the V2L functionality and just the fun that you can have with this. You can plug in your lawnmower, kettle is ready to barbecue or camping or something like that. Aesthetically, overall, I think the car looks pretty well, I have to say, so much sharper than the previous generation, and hats off to Kia for doing that. It's lovely to drive, both on the motorway and then, you know, around town, little potholes, ramps and housing estates and stuff like that. It's set up quite well. Now, it's not a driver's car. You're not going to be chucking it into corners as you race through the Wicklow Mountains on a nice Sunday drive. It's not that kind of vehicle, and we're never expecting it to be. But still, it handles absolutely fine. There's plenty of power there as well. 0 to 100 is 7.8 seconds if you do feel like flooring it. And then you've got different sport mode, regular mode, eco mode to adjust that depending on how you please. The interior is really nice, I have to say. Spec'd very well. The two screens are really good, they're quick, they're responsive, there's a lot of functionality there, but then if you just want to plug in your phone and use, you know, Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, that's there as well. Overall, fantastic. Now you're talking about early 40,000 euros to get into one of these. It's a lot of money, but then again, it is electric, so it's going to save you a huge amount in maintenance and fuel costs over the years that you have it, and that might close the gap between this car and the other car that you were thinking of. So yeah, for me, it's a big thumbs up for the Niro EV.